If you were to hear the name John Carpenter, then chances are your mind would swiftly turn to the horror genre. Over the decades, Carpenter has delighted us and scared the crap out of us with some undeniable gems such as Halloween, The Fog, and my all-time favourite horror movie, The Thing. But for this review, I wanted to turn my attention to a somewhat lesser-known movie of his called In the Mouth of Madness. It concluded his so-called Apocalypse trilogy, which was preceded by Prince of Darkness and The Thing. It's a movie deeply inspired by the chilling tales of H.P. Lovecraft and the height of Stephen King's popularity, and while it arguably doesn't have the same quality as his masterpieces, I still think the film has plenty to offer the horror connoisseur, and there's a lot of fun to be had with it. Sam Neill stars as John Trent, a freelance insurance investigator hired by a publishing house to investigate the disappearance of their famed horror writer Sutter Cane, played by Jürgen Prochnow. Cane is the author of an anthology series that has taken the world by storm, and his writing also seems to be sending his readers quite literally insane. John, ever the skeptic, believes the whole thing to be either a setup or simple mass hysteria. After a little puzzle solving, John works out that Cane is most likely residing in a town called Hobbs End. With the help of Linda Stiles, an editor at the publishing house played by Julie Carmen, he sets out to track down the missing writer and to bring back the new manuscript he's been working on. But as John begins his search, he slowly starts to question his own reality and encounters horrors beyond his imagination. As I said before, In the Mouth of Madness takes heavy inspiration from the mind of H.P. Lovecraft. The title itself pays homage to Lovecraft's novella At the Mouth of Madness, and the theme of cosmic horror runs deep through the movie. One of its strongest pillars is the exploration of sanity itself. John is constantly trying to keep a grip on his own sanity, but his grasp becomes more and more slippery to the point where even we, the audience, begin to question what we think is happening and what is actually happening. This idea of losing one's sanity is scary enough, but throw in some supernatural elements and a sprinkling of body horror and otherworldly monsters, then you have a great recipe for a good old-fashioned horror romp. The film also pays homage to Stephen King and his work. Sutter Cane is obviously an exaggerated version of King, and the movie even makes him part of its universe.
Sutter Cane happens to be this century's most widely read author. You can forget about Stephen King. Cane outsells them all.
Hobbs End is clearly the movie's interpretation of King's various fictional settings such as Castle Rock and Derry, and actually the place looks really nice and quaint, aside from, the creepy disfigured kids, the lunatic locals, and all the other mayhem that's happening in this town. While the special effects aren't as good as The Thing, I still quite like them. The SFX team, made up of some well-known talent such as Greg Nicotero, Robert Kurtzman, and Howard Berger, did a reasonably good job with the makeup and animatronics. The latter can be argued that they look dated even for then, but I think this just adds to the overall B-movie-esque feel that In the Mouth of Madness gives off. I've definitely got a soft spot for the scene where Mrs. Pickman chops up her poor husband in the basement, and I do love the bit where the horde of creatures chases John down that long dark tunnel. As far as the acting goes, it's not going to blow your skirt up, but it's definitely serviceable. Sam Neill as John Trent plays his part well as the skeptic, trying in vain to rationalise everything that's happening to him, and he even has a few comedic moments from time to time. And let's not forget that incredible scream. Bravo, Sam. Fucking bravo. Jürgen Prochnow as Sutter Cane is great and he's clearly having a good time hamming it up to a degree. Just a shame he's not on screen for longer. Julie Carmen as Linda Stiles is okay for the most part, but there's one or two little moments that make you recoil a bit due to the lacklustre performance. But so what, It's a creature feature at the end of the day, and I highly doubt you'll be watching a film like this for its groundbreaking acting. Now I know it sounds like I'm shitting on the film more than praising it, but the truth is I have a genuine love for it. If memory serves me right, it came on TV late one night when I was a kid, and being the horror-obsessed child I was at the time, I had a great time with it. I was heavily into Stephen King back then, and I loved its nods and inspiration to King's literary style. As an adult now, it kind of struck me that In the Mouth of Madness could be described as the best adaptation of a Stephen King story that he never actually wrote. And as a horror film, I think it definitely serves up some decent scares and feelings of creepiness. I can always remember this particular scene putting the shits up me as a kid.
You're my mommy. Know what today is? Today is Mommy's day.
And this scene, well, I come to think about it. can't imagine why. But anyway, with Halloween creeping up on us, I think that In the Mouth of Madness is mostly worthy of your time if you're a fan of such horror films. And if it's been a minute since you last watched it, then maybe it's the perfect time to give it another viewing. It ain't perfect, but I think it's entertaining regardless.